Plantation 912 group, and the best thing is that this is a group of people right here where I live in Plantation, Florida, so that just makes it absolutely fantastic. And also, I don't have a long drive to get back to my house, and actually, you know, I could run back if I needed to. But it's been a great day. You know, we started out this morning with a nice radio interview with Russ Morley on 850 FTL. We talked about being here with you tonight. And we had a nice little trip to go up to Palm Beach Gardens to speak with the Wackenheimer Executive Board, and then came down and talked to some people in Fort Lauderdale who are planning a nice little fundraising event for us, and now we're here. And this is where I like to be, because as I said before, this is how our country got started. When patriots gathered together in taverns and clubs and things of this nature and talked about what it meant to be free, what it meant to have liberty, what it would mean to establish a great nation like we have in the United States of America. But what we are facing right now is probably the greatest threat that our country will ever face. And it's definitely greater than I've ever seen in the 49 years I've been walking on this earth. Because we are standing at a time of an ideological race for the future and the soul of who we are as American people. And if we don't get it right here in November 2010, you got to ask yourself, what do we leave our children and what do we leave our grandchildren? Because everything that I am is based upon the principles that my family, my mother and my father raised me to be. And I've talked about that so many times. I had a great couple of parents from South Georgia. You know, my dad served in World War II. My mother did 25 years service with the Marine Corps headquarters. And they taught me something very simple. It is about loving God and loving your country. And that's what we have to reestablish in this United States of America. We've got to get back to some basic principles that will enable this country to continue on for another 233 years. It is about understanding that the American people just want to be left alone. They don't need an intrusive government that tries to mandate each and every aspect of their life. See, right now, I don't know if you had the opportunity to look at last week on the front page of the USA Today, I think it was Thursday or Friday, where it did a side-by-side comparison of salaries, public sector versus private sector. And what did you see there? You saw the growth of government. You saw that public sector salaries and compensation are greater than the private sector. You cannot grow an economy when you're upside down like that. You cannot grow an economy when you have a government that is growing because they continue to create victims. Victims become dependent upon government. Then they hire a whole bunch of other people to work for government, which means that you don't have the money in your pockets for investment, for ingenuity, for innovation. That's what built the United States of America. Government didn't build this great country. Individual Americans built this great country. Individual Americans who once upon a time said, we want to go west. Y'all get that? But in going west, what did they say? They didn't say, give me a wagon. They didn't say, give me some flowers. They didn't say, build me a bridge. They didn't say, give me horses. They figured it out. That's the indomitable spirit that the United States of America possesses. And it cannot be enslaved. It must be empowered. And if we do not have people that go to Washington, D.C., and the great thing I like about this group is it's about principle. It's not about party. It's about those things that make us totally different from any other country, any other nation, anything that's ever been seen in the United States of America. It's a will that never gives up. It's a will that says, put the money in my pocket, give me the opportunity, and I will climb the ladder. See, everyone asks me, well, what do you stand for? I'm a conservative. No doubt about it. That's my ideology. Let me tell you the difference between a conservative and someone that's a liberal progressive. See, I grew up in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia. And so often people would look at the inner city and say, you can't make it. You're a victim. My parents didn't believe in that. My parents gave me a ladder. They enabled me to climb. And as the Army said when I joined it was about being all you can be. Each and every American has that ladder. But what they also have is what conservatives provide, a safety net. Because sometimes you're going to slip, you're going to fall off or run. But the point is that you got to get back up. As my mother said, the measure of a man is not how many times he gets knocked down. What does he do when he gets knocked down? It's about empowerment. But see, we have people on the other side that instead of giving you a ladder, instead of giving you a safety net, they give you a hammer. because they just want you to sit around and swing for the rest of your life. And they just give you enough that you can get by. But you become wedded to them. And they own you. We live in the United States of America right now where there's a 21st century plantation being established. A 21st century plantation that is not enslaving the physical body, but the will and the mind of the American people. We live in an America right now where 45 to 50% of Americans are not paying taxes. But yet they do what? They vote. And it's very easy for politicians to manipulate Americans and come down and say, you can have a free house, and you can have a free health care, and you can have a free car, and we'll take care of this, and you'll get a free cell phone. But when you do that, you snuff out that flame, this is the American spirit, and you create slaves. You don't create Americans. And that's what I stand against. That's what we have to get people to understand, that as long as the wealth of the American people is being kidnapped and harnessed in Washington, D.C., we will not grow. If we do not transfer your wealth back to you, this economy will not grow. If we continue to beat you down with taxes, be very careful. Sooner or later, you're going to find out that we are at 65 to 70% marginal tax rate in the United States of America. How are we going to grow the economy? If government continues to grow, there are three things that they're going to do. They're going to print more money, they're going to borrow more money, and they're going to raise taxes. And history has shown those are the three things that you never do in the economic morass that we find ourselves in right now. History has shown that where taxation is the lightest, revenues increase. Why? Because you open up the entrepreneurial spirit of the American people. You empower them, hire people, to get people back to work. Florida is approaching 12% unemployment. The economy in Florida cannot continue on being based on tourism and agriculture. We've got to branch out and develop other resources. One of the key resources we need to branch out on, energy resources. Energy resourcing is a critical part of the 21st century value. See, there's a reason why Western Europe doesn't challenge Russia too often. There's a pipeline that comes out of Russia. There's a reason why we don't say too much to Saudi Arabia, to Nigeria, to Mexico, to Venezuela, and soon to be China, because it's energy resources. China is already buying up leases off the coast of Cuba. And with slant drilling, the new technology which enables you to set an oil platform here and offset and slant drill, they can come into our continental shelf. And wouldn't it be a shame that 20, 30, 40 years from now, our children and grandchildren are going to China for energy resources? If we want to set ourselves ahead, turn to the American people, turn to the entrepreneurs so we can start producing, we can start consuming, we can maybe even export our own energy resources so that we have the economic viability, we have the creation of jobs. Turn to the American people and reduce the tax burden. I say go to a flat tax, 13% across the board, no exemptions. If you want to get to the fair tax, at least we got a bridge to get there. Turn to the American people. Cut the corporate and business tax rate, which is 33%, down to 16 to 17%. Cut it in half so we can hire Americans. We don't have to go out and get cheap labor. We don't have to have illegal immigrants that come to our country and depress our wages. Turn to the American people. You don't need capital gains tax. You don't need dividends tax. You don't need estate tax or death tax. How insidious can it be? They tax you in life, they tax you in death. That's absolutely correct. Turn to businesses and say, if we want to stimulate the economy, I guarantee you, if I brought out the owner of this place and told him, I'm suspending your payroll taxes, he'd start doing leaps and bounds. Because that money that comes right into his pocket, that money comes right into his employee's pocket. And they will spend it. That will generate more and more revenue. That is how you deal with it. That is how you secure the financial future of the United States of America. It's not what Ron Klein did about 3 weeks ago, where he voted to raise the debt limit by $1.9 trillion to an astronomical $13 trillion, which means right now, if every single person in the United States of America could see a number over their head, it's $47,000. The debt is yours. Man, woman, and child. It's a debt that is owned by China. And in that debt being owned by Johnny Cash is